Hello, and welcome to the Thematic Intelligence Podcast, a global data thematic intelligence. We track over 100 tech, industry, ESG, and macro themes impacting all major sectors. I'm Martina Raveni, and today I'm joined by Robert Pritchard, who is a principal analyst in our technology division. Hi, Rob. Welcome to Thematic Intelligence. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Good to see you.
Thanks for being here. So today we would like to explore a bit more the impact that AI has from an environmental perspective. And I'd say that to summarize this is that AI deployment has at the same time pros and cons, because from one side, AI is helping to achieve the sustainability goals. For example, can support process optimization, can monitor and do complicated calculation for value chain emissions, for example. But at the same time, on the flip side, it's consuming a lot of energy. Large language models development, but also training consumes energy and is done in data centers. And we are talking about not just energy on its own, but computational power and water and all these kind of resources. So this is the current situation, and in the last years, big tech greenhouse gas emissions have surged during the expansion of these data centers because of the AI system following the AI boom. So at at the moment, I'm doubting that the commitment to the net zero by 2030 can be achievable. So my first question for you, Rob, is which is the current state of energy consumption, greenhouse gas emissions, so all these energy related data that big tech are consuming in relation to the AI boom.
Okay, well, we identified this quite a while back. We're looking at the challenges for hyperscalers in particular, the amount of energy they were consuming and the amount of water they were consuming, and some amazing stats like the equivalent of the Japanese water consumption and in the British energy consumption in a year across 800 hyperscalers, something like that. But the AI boom, and it is boom, has certainly contributed more to this situation. And so we've seen recently from both Microsoft and Google their recent reports that they're struggling to meet what were their commitments to net zero. Um, and they're having to find this sort of balance between the opportunity presented to them by AI, because obviously they all want to dominate in AI like they dominate in everything else they try and work in. But equally, they are apparently committed to their net zero commitment. So it's a balance for them between the commercial impulse to get as much revenue as possible, but also the fact that they generally are committed to acting responsibly and sustainability wise. But recently, you have to question if they're going up by, I think it's 46, 48% at Google or whatever in terms of their consumption. You have to question how they're going to get the balance right between the commercial opportunity and their stated obligation and their stated aspiration in terms of sustainability.
Yeah, indeed, I agree. It's really a trade-off. As you said, Google, for example, literally 2 days ago released its environmental report, and last year increased greenhouse gas emissions like 48% in the past 5 years. So, but at the same time, they want to keep pace with the advancement in AI. So definitely, I agree what you say. And you said, of course, they have commitments that they need to mitigate the environmental impact. And could you give our listeners some example of what they are actually doing to do this? Like, for example, I'm thinking about carbon offset or water
Sure.
replenishment. So,
Yeah, I mean, a little while back, there's the Symbiosis Coalition, which is Google, Meta, Microsoft, and Salesforce looking to do some carbon offsetting. And I think they're trying to be intelligent. They need to be intelligent because there's no simple solution to make up for the extra use that they're making in terms of GHG and so on and so forth. So there are ways they're trying to address it, and also you have to look at it from the enterprise customer perspective too. So their customers also are looking to reduce their greenhouse gas emissions, and they're looking to commit to their sustainability goals. And so they're often finding that sometimes a different model and different architecture works. So some of the work we've done recently on AI, Gen AI, finds that in terms of performance as much as anything else, let alone sustainability, and in terms of things like latency for connection, um, pushing the data, keeping the data and analysis closer to the place where it's being used can both improve performance and reduce impact in terms of sustainability. Um, so there's that aspect to it. There are these sort of coalitions and efforts to jointly to come up with standards and to make commitments. But again, uh, it needs some imagination. There are some stuff. There is some stuff going on. People are looking at different ways of using cooling, like more oil based or whatever, rather than just water cooling. And I think SKT and Korea were one of the leaders in that area. And then there's also another sort of quasi-offsetting approach that some are using in terms of maybe locating data centers, hyperscale centers near other buildings or other campuses. And so the heat they generate can actually be used to heat houses or offices. So where other energy might have been used to do different things like that, it can sort of be transferred from the data center and used in that way. So that sort of compensates for some of the aspects that they're impacting. Um, so yeah, it's there's some instances of imagination, but thus far it still falls a bit behind the colossal increase we've seen in terms of the usage of energy as a result directly of Gen AI.
Yeah, definitely. And you mentioned location that and recycling of data producer is really important, but also you probably have heard that they are trying to think into put data center in maybe cold location, not just to substitute the water cooling, but just
Yeah,
to put the data centers where is already cold. And yeah, all this kind of mitigation initiatives are definitely
yeah.
important.
Sometimes their imaginations get carried away. Like I think you were telling me about having data centers in space.
Yes,
I'm not quite sure how much latency and how much security you'd have against comets and asteroids. But yeah, it's a bit loony.
indeed.
But
But
at least they're looking at every possibility, I guess.
indeed, but they're also looking if like in the Arctic that also there are problem with latency. So
Yeah.
for this reason, the very moment I'd say that locating data center like near the shoreline where the majority of population is,
Mhm.
it's a good initiative so far. But
Sure. And I know there's a lot of data center activity and using the sort of the advantage of having cooler environment in places like Iceland and in Norway, Sweden. There's a lot of and also it helps because I mean, without wishing to be sort of biased, it tends to be a lot of the Scandinavian countries have that sort of mindset of being more available to finding solutions of being more sustainable in their life anyway. The other flip side, of course, to this is the scope three emissions. So this is the stuff that's out of their control. And the very fact of having to build lots of data centers, this involves concrete, steel, and so on and so forth. So there's a lot of just physical cost of building all the data centers to meet requirements. And the other thing that actually springs to mind is that in some cases, the demand on electricity so far, but probably more so on water in due course. There's seen people like places in London and Dublin and Singapore put sort of like a moratorium on new data center production, and just the governments and the building people, they face the same dilemma between the need to lead in terms of IT, and everyone wants to jump on the AI bandwagon, but equally, if your constituents can't turn the lights on, it's a bit of a problem. So there's that dilemma as well. And I can see, if the data center people don't get their act together and sort it out, there will be more intervention by governments and particularly in the EU, I'd have said. And one other example that springs to mind is in America. I forget which company it was, but they built a data center actually right next to a nuclear power station. And so that means, there's a lot of cost in transferring energy from A to B. And so that means they're right next to it. So that's another area where you can help cut down the impact on the environment.
I want to link my next question of what you mentioned before about the cooling technologies, but in general, you've been writing as well on our global data news site about the need of AI data centers efficiency that drives innovation, because data center needs modernizing in terms of design and efficiency. So at the moment, we know that data centers are thirsty because training large language models is water intensive. And since the AI boom, we've been said that tech giants increase their water usage to cool down the IT equipment. And this is technique is called liquid cooling.
Yeah.
And and we've said that Google, but also Microsoft, increases water consumption since started to train. So what's your view on this, and if you can expand of the article you just published?
Well, for the moment in the UK, I don't think there's going to be a shortage of water with the weather we've been having. It's definitely an issue. Because there's no slowing down of the amount of water and electricity that's being used at the moment. But then if you look at the latest NVIDIA chips and uh, other technologies, right across the whole telecoms and IT piece, the efficiency of the equipment is improving vastly. And so I'm sure there are a lot of companies that say, we build our tech solutions with sustainability in mind. So, the longer term, as the technology itself, the equipment and so on and so forth evolves, that will make a contribution to more efficient usage. I think at the moment we're on this sort of this weird wave where, because Gen AI in particular has driven up usage so much. In fact, to the extent where a lot of our customers we talk to say that the issue is just being able to get enough capacity to run large language models. So we're at that early explosive sort of uh, gold rush stage, should we say? And something the other day said we were late into the Gen AI development phase. We were 6 months behind other people. It's that sort of pace, which is unusual for traditional technology. So, yeah, there's the I think in 6 months' time it'll be interesting. We're going to see some more imagination, more efforts, because these people have to protect their reputations. They don't want to be accused of. It's worse than greenwashing. If you say we're going to be, greener than green, and then say, oh, actually we're using half as much again as we expected, doesn't look good, and customers won't like it. Um, but we've got COP29 coming up in, I think it's November 11th or something like that. And I would imagine it'd be very difficult for this not to be a key topic of that discussion and of that meeting and discussions there as well. So, as with all these developments, they are racing away at a crazy pace. But at least the very fact that Microsoft and Google are putting their hands up and saying, okay, we're doing more damage than we thought we would, and they still have their commitments, one would hope that that means that, they will continue to innovate and come up with solutions to fix these issues.
Yeah, and at the same time, there is the claim that AI models are helping sustainability
Yeah,
goals.
exactly. So,
So,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, right across tech, people are looking at how AI, even from like mobile masks through to LLMs, whatever. AI seems to be like a rocket booster for general activities, and some new innovations are coming through, but it's still, as I say, the Wild West at the moment. But AI will certainly play an important role in trying to manage the sustainability challenges.
Thank you very much, Rob, for your insights. And thanks all for listening. And from us in Thematic Intelligence, see you next time.